Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome to episode 97 of the Next Block. We here, Crypto for Change, C Will. We have a special guest going to pop up in the show. Y'all just wait. It's going to be a good one. How you doing, Crypto for Change?
Doing good, doing good. We've had some craziness happen in the crypto markets over the last few weeks. I mean, it's been a wild ride. I've taken some profits and then watched a lot of things continue to run hot and run higher. So, yeah, I mean, bull market is back. Fully in swing right now. I mean, you got Bitcoin closing, monthly candles on, at its highest level. Depending upon where it ends today. You've had, it touched 64K. Obviously, we're going to dive into some of that. And you got algo price action starting to look like it's got some liveliness in it, along with tons of alts popping left and right. Obviously, if you've been following us, you know some of the ones we picked, and some of those have been hitting really good for us. So we're
Yeah.
excited about that. Even outside of that, I just feel like there's just a lot of excitement, a lot of, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. Like I said, the past few weeks, just kind of having that just overall momentum, knowing that like, hey, Bitcoin's running, alts running, crypto's running, we're back making money.
Oh, also want to say happy Leap Day. We have a special
Mm,
day today. It's the 29th. Happens every 4 years. So this is going to be cool. Leap Day. And then Bitcoin going crazy. One of my favorite guys to follow is Michael Saylor. So I like talking about him. But he has been right. He
mm.
up so much profit on Bitcoin. Remember, he was like, mortgage your house in 2021. So if you mortgage your house for some Bitcoin, leave a comment. Let us know if you did it. You would be up. And so is Bukele out there in El Salvador. They also made a great decision. Yes, yes. So it's really good. Let's go pull up the chart right now and talk about some Bitcoin
Yeah, for sure.
right here. So
Look at
this
that.
is the
That
all
thing.
chart on Bitcoin.
Yeah, that is
Mm.
wild. That run, and everybody, looking down there just at that 30K range. I mean, a lot of people were saying that 30K double top right there, and then when it headed back down to like 25K, I'm talking about on the most recent run. A lot of people were
Oh,
saying
yep,
we're going
yep, right
back to the bear market, and that's where we're going. And then literally, it has been up only since. I mean, yes, there was that little bit of volatility in that 40K range, but
here.
it has shot up like a rocket.
It's crazy. Yeah, let me pull up the other chart here.
Yeah, if you look at trading view too, let's dive. Yeah, right there. So this is the hourly chart, and this is just going over the past couple days of trading. But a lot
Yep.
of people, if you're into Bitcoin, you're in Bitcoin, it ran up to that 64K wick, that candle you'll see there, and you'll see a really big drop all the way candle wick down to 59K. And what happened there was, obviously Bitcoin had been running hot the week, and Coinbase, miraculously, mysteriously, says they're dealing with too much traffic. I guess Brian
Mhm.
Armstrong hasn't scaled up his platform enough with all the money he's got, and they went down. So a lot of people's balances were showing zero. Some people were, and mine did. Mine actually showed zero for a while.
Yeah, mine's
I only had $5 in it, so I wasn't sweating anything. But nonetheless, you had a lot of people, not being able to place trades, not being able to buy or sell, and so even with that, that is where you saw a lot of that volatility. And now Bitcoin, kind of ran almost all the way back up to 63, 64K before sitting where it's at now at 61. What's your thoughts over
yeah.
that, overall that?
Man, I'm gonna pull up Ethereum too. My thoughts is that we back. Bitcoin been running technically since last like January, 2023. So it's looking real good. And the top two, Bitcoin and Ethereum, is making gains like crazy. They say, these ones move slower and they control the market. It is very true. And then we're seeing it right now. Let me also go to Ethereum on TradingView. It's looking good. So I'm excited. And when these things pull back, you usually get almost the same chart right here. Really,
Yeah. Yeah. Even that big
the
wick
exact
right
same
there, that
thing.
was the
Yeah,
Coinbase
same thing.
volatility.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I'm impressed. A lot of Ethereum scaling layer twos are out. Optimism, Arbitrum, Metis, all kind of they're all there and they're helping Ethereum grow as well. So I'm just loving both of these charts. Let's go over here and look at all of crypto.
Yeah.
What you seeing here?
I mean, I'll say that still one of the biggest ones that's kind of surprised me a lot is Solana still moving up, and even with its outage, even AVAX, I think it's still close to the top 10. I think Doge pumped today, so it may have
Yeah,
pushed AVAX back out of the top 10. But even some of these ones that are more experimental outside of Ethereum, are still doing well. And
Cardano.
yeah, Cardano's still doing good. I've seen a lot of funny tweets and memes being posted out there from them. But yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
still seeing not too much is really shaken up in the top, 25. At least from what I've seen the past couple days, everything is just kind of like, you look over there, the far right, last 7 days, almost every chart, to an extent is similar. Everything is mostly up to the right. I know Uniswap had a really big jump. And that's obviously you'll see there, and that's honestly I think what also helped some of our bags. If you're watching us, we've been buying some Aerodrome and Velodrome, which are big
Yep.
dexes on Base and Optimism, and those two have been, or at least Aerodrome for the most part, mooned a lot. I mean, it's up like almost 200-300%.
Yeah.
Coinbase Ventures is now invested in them, so that's another big win there. But yeah, scrolling, continue on down. We'll get down to where Algorand is at. So let's take a look at
We got
that.
to scroll for a while. No shade, no shade, no shade.
Render's still doing good.
Let's
Render did pump up to like over $8 like yesterday.
yeah,
I think
yep.
it's going to solidify in that $7.58 range before it moves up to 10 or beyond. I think as
STI, new cryptos like that. Celestia, SUI, they're all doing really well. We're gonna find Algorand on here. There it is.
man,
So
57.
57 has a lot of competition. We Algorand bulls over here, and I know there's a lot of Algorand bulls out here. They send in the DMs, people making their buys on Twitter, the 10,000, 5,000. So salute to all of y'all. I think it will pay off, but I know Algorand's a patience coin. Gotta
Yeah,
have a
it
lot of
really
patience
is. And I feel like maybe, obviously it's been so long since the last bull market. I have to literally go back and look at my videos and look at what was happening then and my trades. And like, honestly, Algorand was slow last bull market, right? Like a lot of things ran
Flat.
hot and, way, hot and faster. And then Algorand was kind of the one at the end that was like, doing days where it was up 15-20% and most of the market was down 6-7%. And so honestly that is something to take into consideration. I'm starting to see a lot of bigger accounts talking about Algorand as well. I'm talking accounts with 30, 100, 200, 300k followers, starting to mention it, starting to show it on the chart and really show the opportunity, right? The risk to reward I think
Yep.
is really heavy for Algorand, and I think it's heavy in the reward category right now, because if you want to pull it up real quick, even on TradingView, the Algorand chart, it's been coiled and it's been trading sideways pretty much in a range for so long, that it's the longer these things coil and the longer they stay in that range, when they do finally break out, the more dramatic that run ends up becoming.
I mean, it's true. This is crypto, so anything can happen, right? And like you said, a coil, and then it springs up, goes into squeeze, and then boom, it could go crazy in a matter of days. Like we said, Arrow went like 300% in the last week. 4 days really, and it's something crazy. But this is, I made a technical about this on the other channel, but this right here is very important. These wicks right here, Algorand has to get past this level, and I think that's where it goes crazy. We're trying.
Yeah, if you here,
trying.
let me share my screen real quick. I'll show you something.
Yep.
That person I've been following, I think that does a really good job charting just in general for a lot of different cryptos. So if you want to follow this guy, obviously I'm not financial advice, not saying he's going to guaranteed to make you money, but we're looking at the algo on the weekly, right? And we blow this one up, and it's making a similar pattern to what we saw before in the in the bull market. And this kind of head and shoulders, and if you look at that third, that right shoulder, once that started to run up, I mean, it was fast. You're talking 25-cent algo all the way to $1.70 and then $2. And right now it's like, we're still sitting right under this, this line. But once we can get above it, once we hit 25-30 cents, I honestly believe Algorand is going to catch fire. You'll see some volatility on the way up. You'll probably see some profit taking, but I do think something like this could play out where you're really seeing, this parabolic rise up to close to $1 and then beyond. And even I want to say, let me see if he's got another one, because I want to say he has one that was on the kind of a little bit more zoomed out for Algorand. Let me go check. I know he does a lot. Also, the total three, is looking bullish. Looks almost like where we were before, which total three is everything excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So altcoins
Uh-huh.
look primed to make a big run. Let me see here. I know it was within the past couple days. Let me see if I can find it. Should have had this one pulled up on a secondary page, but if I can't find it in a few seconds, we'll move on. But
Yep.
here
Yeah,
we
we
go.
got to get
Yeah, here it is. Here's
Okay.
the here's the target price, right? Target price one, right? Like I say, if you want to take profits early and be more safe, that 37 cents area, I think, is where we could see some resistance, because that's where we saw the FIFA run end, right? It ran up
Mhm.
that FIFA news, and then
Or-
boom, bear market still just kept doing bear market things. Target price two, right? There was the Algorand 69-cent gang or 67-cent gang at the start of the bear market, and we tried holding that area. So I think there will be a lot of resistance support that we got to flip there. And then the target price number three, $1.80 and and above. Obviously, that's blow off top wick type stuff. But all that's possible. So if you're Algorand bull, if you're still holding algo, there is still hope. And give that guy a follow. He does really good at charting, and I like following what he shows.
Okay, speaking of Algorand, so we have something big on the show. This is something that I think is very important for Algorand to have as a development. So we're gonna bring our guest on, Al from MakerX, and he's also here to talk to us about Subtopia. Let's give him a welcome to the show. How you doing,
Hey
Al?
everyone, awesome. Thank you for the invite. Appreciate the opportunity to showcase the platform and chat a little bit about how I got involved with Algorand in the first place.
For
Sounds
sure,
good.
yeah. So if you want to break it down, like I said, MakerX, we know is working with AlgoKit. So that is huge. Big shout out to John Woods. Shout out to you and everybody that's helping the developer ecosystem grow. But go ahead, if you want to give them a introduction of who you are and how you got into Algorand and what were your thoughts about Algorand.
Sure. And I'll also add a bit more context about the things we're doing with AlgoKit as well. I think there's definitely a lot more, tiny little nuances and features and bug fixes that are going through a little bit unnoticed, but this is going to be improved as part of the bits where Algorand's developer portal is going to be basically slightly revamped. But yeah, my name is Al. I am a software engineer. I've been working in this industry for roughly 7 to 8 years. Initially spending majority of my career working for enterprises. So I worked at IBM and Microsoft for a couple of years, and then while still working within this sort of big tech space, I was stumbling upon a few interesting blog posts and podcasts about Algorand. And pretty much Algorand was a hobby for me for like a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. I was, I guess, lucky enough to also experience the change that was happening in the developer tooling, because it is a night and day experience comparing the amount of things that happened with just you being able to quickly spin up something that is a working D app written in a smart contract language that is fairly easy to understand and obviously easy to debug. But yeah, back then it was all dealing with things like Teal, PyTeal, and not to discredit them amazing tools, but obviously some improvements had to be done in terms of adoption and accessibility to AVM and its amazing capabilities, obviously. So essentially, as part of that, while building a lot of open source projects, you may have also heard about AwesomeAlgo, which is basically a repository that is following the conventions for this thing called Awesome, which is like some guy who came up with conventions for how you can style your repositories to organize and have collections of different resources. So if you want to submit a useful resource for the Algorand ecosystem, head out to awesomealgo.com to submit a free PR. And if it's a really interesting tool, I also occasionally do podcasting episodes where we just do fairly interesting deep dives into a particular tech or a technology or platform built on Algorand or around Web3. And so basically, after spending almost 2 years doing open source stuff on my free time, I visited Decipher, which was an amazing conference in Dubai. I think I saw you there, guys, but I didn't know you back then.
Yeah.
But on Decipher, essentially, after Decipher, I came back. Obviously, there were some open source projects dealing with smart contracts and things like that. But after Decipher, I had these idea about figuring out what's a useful use case that could benefit a lot to developers themselves, because obviously there was a lot of focus on real world assets, right? Like REA scenarios, or things like NFT marketplaces or fractionalized investments, which are all amazing use cases, but there weren't a lot of options for developers themselves who already are embedded into Algorand ecosystem and want to essentially build something where they can monetize their own content, essentially. And with that idea, pretty much I made a decision to sort of make a transition away from big enterprises. I joined MakerX, which is a remote first Australian venture building startup. And I will also provide some references so you could read more about our company. We have a lot of different initiatives there. Basically, the main, I would say, operational model was initially reliant on big clients. Obviously, Algorand Foundation is one of our main clients, and the work on AlgoKit that we have been doing has been very, very exciting thing to just being able to work on an open source tooling completely in public, essentially, with a team collaborating with people at Foundation Technologies is something that was extremely exciting for me. And then obviously building Subtopia in parallel as part of MakerX Ventures, which is essentially also gives you a nice perspective to use AlgoKit, because I used the AlgoKit. It's currently written in Beaker, but we're transitioning to Puya. I'll touch a bit on that, but this is just an issue with the huge evolution in the languages that are happening in the Algorand ecosystem over the past couple of years. And so, yeah, basically with that in place, Subtopia was kind of born in that manner. The first iteration started in, I would say, January 2023, and the goal was very simple. I wanted to provide a platform for people within Algorand ecosystem, primarily developers, and I would say this is still our primary sort of target audience in which we're trying to find a good product market fit. And essentially, the main challenge in general is building smart contracts for any engineer is, I would say, especially if you're trying out building something on public ledgers, is a slightly different paradigm. It's fairly challenging, I would say, especially back prior to days when Puya was available, or TealScript and things like that. So building something that you can consider as a safe solution to manage infrastructure for payments based on gated access or subscription-based access is a fairly time-consuming thing, and it is also, for a business, I would imagine, is a matter of hiring a team of engineers. You would have to build this infrastructure simply to enable your own set of smart contracts that you have for your own platform to be able to have a gated sort of access to your content. And so this is where Subtopia essentially has its value proposition in the current state. And what it allows you to do essentially is deploy a special smart contract. And I know that I'm maybe throwing a bit of technical terminology. Feel free to stop me in case anything is unclear or you need me to clarify any terms, basically. And I think it's also a good time to start sharing the screen just to have some supplementary material available, basically.
Yeah. So real quick, before we go to Subtopia screen share, so let me go back to AlgoKit a little bit.
Sure.
So what's the current languages right now that we're using in AlgoKit? Because I know there's been a big announcement about Pi, and then before it was PyTeal. So we're on what, Python, or what are we using on AlgoKit?
So AlgoKit is, I would say, the main thing people refer to when they say AlgoKit is the CLI, but
sorry, y'all. StreamYard is going crazy right now.
Yeah. One thing I think might be the issue is because we're doing local recordings so I don't know if it gives you the ability to stop it. It gave me a notification when I logged back in that Google's trying to fix an issue of crashing when doing local recordings, and if there is either a background or so if I think both of us are using virtual backgrounds because I have mine and he
Eric's back,
has his
but-
because it's blurred.
Apologies. Yeah, I had this back exactly as you just
No,
described,
I-
basically.
So I can't take out local recordings right now. So I think
No,
moving forward, we might have to.
I think what I'll do is I can just turn off my virtual background just so, I mean, obviously you can see my lovely living room, but it's very, very
Yeah.
bland behind me.
I turned
Yeah,
off mine
so-
as well, so hopefully it's
Yeah,
not
so
too
apologize
drastic.
to y'all.
worries, no worries.
Streaming services is going nuts right now. But you were talking about the languages that we're using, and then we'll go to an ad break, and then we'll get to the demo.
Absolutely, yeah. So to recap on AlgoKit, as I said, there's going to be a lot of improvements happening in terms of observability of the documentation, the quality of the structure that you usually get in the current dev portal. But I just wanted to highlight that when people, once again, say AlgoKit, they usually refer to the CLI, but it is actually a whole ecosystem of different tools that are basically interchangeable. There's a lot of different use cases for different scenarios. The CLI itself, for example, allows you to essentially manage the entire lifecycle of your project. So it's not just the Puya compiler, right? So when we say AlgoKit and Puya, for example, Puya is essentially a transpiler that allows you, well, it started as a transpiler, then it turned into a far more sophisticated solution that I would say closer to a compiler in this state. That essentially is, you could think of it as a SpyTeal, but even higher level in terms of abstractions and a lot more closer to a native Python syntax. There's still a set of, I would say, certain abstractions that are specific to AVM, but generally speaking, the syntax itself is primarily allowing you to use a lot of primitives for Python, so it saves a lot of time to build stuff. Then we have TealScript. TealScript is maintained by the DevRels in the current state, and it's being transitioned to Foundation. And we still have Beaker and PyTeal, which are not going to go away anywhere, of course. But Beaker might potentially get deprecated at some point.
Do you know if there's any other big languages that are being planned for AlgoKit, like for 2024, or like other big languages that are looking to be adopted, or is Python kind of the bread and butter that they're going to stick with and try to grow adoption with?
So there are some explorations in place for .NET. Shout out to Frank. He's an amazing engineer, currently also collaborating with Foundation, who built pretty much his own stack on .NET. It has its own compiler essentially, and it's a lot of very sophisticated tooling, but primarily oriented for .NET developers. I can't say an exact timeline for that, but I know there are considerations that potentially the work that Frank was doing with .NET and C# will converge with Puya, and that's where Puya's ability to basically have multiple levels of representation for your high-level code that is then transformed into Teal allows you to plug in different front ends. So TealScript, for example, is also not reliant on the Puya compiler, but it might eventually also merge with that, and we will essentially use a single compiler, but there are multiple front ends that will be written in multiple general purpose languages that can interact with that particular compiler. So it's not just Python, but yeah, in the current state, the most solid options, I would say, is Python and TypeScript.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do, y'all, we're going to hit our ad break, and then we're going to go into a deep dive tutorial of how to use Subtopia, so that way developers and users out here can integrate and plug this technology in. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned for these ads. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Um, again, we're
Still
having
having issues.
errors here on Twitter, and we're having errors on this show. So we'll look into it to get it fixed for next week. So we have Al back. So let's dive into the Subtopia tutorial and show people how to use it.
Awesome. So basically, I will start by just showcasing what I'm going to use for this. It's a very quick demo. Please don't judge it too much, but there's going to be a lot of improvements coming into because I'm going to open source the whole thing by the end of the demo, basically. So anyone will be able to fork it and use it as a starter as well. So let me share the screen. All right. So for the sake of this demo, we're going to highlight a scenario where you essentially have a blog posting app. So I'm picking an open source starter template. You can check out, and I'll leave the kudos to the original creator of the repository. It's available under MIT. So I essentially extended that and integrated Subtopia into turning this into essentially a D app. This is how it looks like by default. So this just stock template. You have your pages. You can post content here. You can expand it, and it's pretty much like a regular kind of like medium styled blog. And this is what we are going to use as a base. So now assume that you have a scenario when you want to turn this into a gated access. So certain posts, for example, you would want to monetize them, and they're only available after you subscribe to the blog post as of the creator, essentially. So if we go to Subtopia's website, and I'll use testnet for the sake of the demo, because people who potentially will fork it might prefer trying it out for free on the testnet instance first. And once again, this platform was launched on mainnet in the end of November. We passed an audit with an Australian auditing firm called Entersoft. And let's pretty much start with the entry point to the platform itself first. So I'm already authenticated, but let me potentially re-log in to show you a scenario that we also support email-based authentication, so you don't necessarily need to have an Algorand wallet if you want to use it. But obviously, there is a lot of more, I guess, optimizations in the current state for actually the app builders who already have platforms available on Algorand, or building something with AlgoKit, for example. So let's pick Pera for the sake of a demo. I'm currently on Pera testnet, so I will pick some available wallet for that. So let's see how much balance we have. And all right, so the first thing you see when you go on the main page is essentially the platform offers you to create a subscription contract. When I say contract, I'm applying a smart contract that is deployed for you for a fixed fee that we currently charge in USD. So we have our own Oracle that always ensures that it charges you the current amount in Algo, but equivalent to the current price of Algo, basically. I would say if you're a developer, essentially, obviously, the most important part would be to initially start with the documentation, which I wanted to highlight first because it, I think, gives a good overview of all the features currently available for the existing set of contracts, which we call them token-based contracts because they basically mint an NFT on Algorand after you perform a subscription. You could think of this as kind of like minting an NFT, for example, right? When you get an NFT associated with it, it's an ASA that is linked to your wallet mostly for like vanity reasons, right? You can't sell them or transfer them. You can put it in auction, but very similar principle here. So the ASA is there for mostly vanity reasons, but the contract that manages that ASA is the main logic of the platform that allows you to perform subscriptions through it. It allows you to make lookups. If you want to check if, say, a wallet address on Algorand is a subscriber to a platform, pick any name for it, basically. then you essentially just refer to a set of options. You can either use the API. There's a public API available that you could just use from the clients and make invocations to check if there is a particular subscriber on a certain platform. It's a very simple API in the current state, and would be interested to hear some suggestions in case there are some interesting scenarios. You can join the official Discord if you would like to take a look into our community, or if you need assistance with the integration. Obviously, there is power users as well. If you like to make a call from your own Algorand contract into the Subtopia contract to perform the check whether the particular wallet is a subscriber or not, you can use ABIs. Currently, we provide on-demand help with that, but there will be an open sort of client library that is exposed, and you will be able to interact with it by just installing it as a package. And then there is the primary option, I would say, which is a JavaScript SDK that's available pretty much for a large variety of front-end clients. And the main goal here is to provide a super simple set of abstractions that would allow you to essentially build your own UI for anything you would like around management of the subscriptions. And I would say one other important bit to note is that everything that you see here, basically, and all capabilities that Subtopia currently provides, as I said, is entirely on-chain. If you want a bit more technical details, you could see the existing architecture, basically. It's a set of different contracts that are orchestrating the deployments, but the point is that in the current iteration, most of the interactions is essentially just calls to Algorand ledger. So we don't currently have any backend or any databases associated, but obviously those will come along as more advanced features will start rolling out, basically. So yeah, pretty much that's a quick, I would say, recap of what's available in terms of the documentation. We also have on-ramp integrated from Pera on-ramp if you want to purchase algos with, say, your credit card and to pop your account balance. And as I said, there's an ability to log in with email that doesn't require anything to do with managing wallet clients. And for, I would say, advanced scenarios, you can also check out an examples folder. There's a separate examples repository highlighting a bunch of different projects with Subtopia pre-integrated. And we also have a official AlgoKit template for the Subtopia that you can instantiate through AlgoKit, and also have a fully customizable template scaffolded for you, so you can start building your D app essentially with monetization already in place. So going back to the platform, let's deploy a quick product. So I will go back to the testnet. And let's call this application for the blog something like blog page, for the sake of rhyming with the name of the show. So I'll call it blog page. And if you noticed, I click on a time-based contract. So a time-based subscription contract basically would allow you to specify different aspects around the expiration of the subscription. So let's call it, I don't know, something like Pro. Unit name. So this basically contains an extra reference. If you're obviously a developer on Algorand, you're already familiar with that. But there's going to be some additional UX improvements to maybe simplify the terminology here. But unit name is essentially the name that will be assigned to a subscription after it's minted as an ASA for the user, basically. So let's call it something like. Yeah, keep in mind there's a certain restrictions on these fields, right? Because all of that is going to be persisted on chain. I'll pick Algorand for an ASA. If you want a custom ASA to be assigned, this drop down only shows the stuff you have opted in, basically. So if you don't see it there, make sure you have an asset opted in before being able to select it as a receiving currency. So obviously, if you have a custom ASA in which you want to receive payments, you can do that as well. You can enforce a duration limit if you want, and for the sake of the demo, let's pick something like a month. You could make it free or set any price you want in the ASA or algo as a base price you picked for receiving the payments. And you can also have a limit on the number of subscribers. I'm not going to enforce a limit, but if you say want to have a more flexible scenario where you would do something like gated access, for example, or ticketed events, right? You can set number of subscriptions that could be sold. So say 1 month, is it paid or free? And you can drag and drop an image, for example, representing your logo, your brand. And obviously, there's a lot more storage on chain within these contracts, and all of them are updatable. So you have an ability to get the latest updates into your version of the contract. If we are releasing something new, basically, which for people using NFTs, for example, could be already a familiar experience, right, where you are able to integrate new features into an existing instance of the contract. So that implies that you won't have to spend more money if you already paid for a single deployment on a particular version. You essentially get a support for, n future iterations for as long as we have the fundamental structure of the contracts unchanged. So we picked month. Let's continue. Since I'm using testnet, this is basically, there's some work in progress going on the feature that I'm not going to mention just yet. This is something we will be releasing really soon, but that's why you see the image basically not being rendered because there's some work in progress on the proxy right now. And yeah, so as you can see, the price for the testnet right now is actually lowered. So like if you play with it on the testnet, you are not going to spend more than 1 algo essentially on it. So let's deploy this contract, and I believe I did authenticate it with Para. So just give me a second and sign a transaction. So you will sign a set of transactions that will essentially deploy 2 contracts for you. One of the contracts is deployed only once per basically the first time you use Subtopia. And yeah, so we just deployed it. As you can see, I paid, if this was mainnet, you would pay a rough equivalent of $5 essentially in equivalent in algo, and you essentially get the instructions on the bare minimum usage for the client. So as you can see, you install it through npm or yarn, or you pretty much can use any other package manager you prefer, and say you want to make a subscription now. So this assumes that it's a code snippet that you can place somewhere within your existing DApp, and all you need for the existing iteration is essentially to point it to the ID of the product. There's a few references that you also need to specify. You need to tell whether it's on mainnet, whether it's on testnet, or some custom network. For the sake of the demo, I have it hard-coded for the testnet on the block website that I'm about to show. And yeah, and the registry, you can also switch between the registries. Right now, there's only 2 official registries, one existing on the testnet that I'm using here and on the mainnet, basically. So with that, you just went through 4 steps and you've deployed your own subscription management infrastructure. So now if we go to the manage page, you will also notice that there's some metadata fields here called locker. So locker, the notion of a locker is basically, you can think of it as an escrow. So it's a temporary escrow. Well, not temporary, it actually lives for as long as you use Subtopia, and it serves as an escrow that receives all of the payments from the people who are subscribing to your platform. So if they subscribe through a particular contract that you've already integrated, this is in the existing state, this is your main dashboard to basically manage payments that you receive in Algo. So basically, right now we deployed it already. I showed you the manage portal. I showed you the experience around just deploying a new contract. Here's some of the additional things that you can get out of the box with each of these infrastructure contracts, or we can call them product contracts, is the discounts. So you can also basically create different types of discounts if you want to be applied on this price. Discounts are stored on chain as well, so you can pick a fixed or percentage-based discount and specify an expiration for 10 days, for example. Additionally, you can reinvoke the instructions for how to integrate it with the JS SDK. You can transfer your subscription to a new owner. You can disable it if you want, and this is a part of the life cycle of the contract, so you can't actually delete it if you already have active customers. And this is to prevent potential people, scamming and deploying something that would try to somehow gain leverage on their customers or their subscribers. So if you want to delete your contract, you would have to basically wait until all your existing subscriptions are expired, or if they canceled it out before you can delete the whole instance, basically. And the last thing I would mention is also the subscription portal. That's basically the page that you can also redirect your users to, and that page is a standalone portal that you can manage. As a user, basically, you can log in on that portal, and if you have access to an already existing subscription, you can do different operations on that. You can also like send the vanity token representing you owning an active subscription to your wallet. You can transfer the ownership as well. So if you want to, send access to someone else, you could do that as well. There's some very exciting features that we will be adding that will also allow you to do things like, putting the subscription on option, obviously with a certain percentage being offloaded to the creator of it, and things like allowing you to borrow the subscription to your friend, for example, if he wants to use certain features on some platform that rely on Subtopia. And so now imagine I was a developer who had my blog post app, right? Going back to this application demo here. This is unchanged state of that Mint basically project that I took from GitHub. So now I'm going to show you a slightly revamped option that you can see here. And it's using a fairly simple, so instead of like a content management system, they actually use Notion. If there's people available with like familiar with Notion, it's essentially allowing you to, it's a software platform that deals with anything that is around note-taking or organizing data in a convenient format, or basically a collaborative sort of content management platform in some sense as well, but it's a lot more flexible, and they have a very interesting angle on how they provide their features, basically. So what this demo is using is a free public Notion page that isn't exposed to the end user. This data is actually coming from Notion. So as you can see here, I have an example Notion that I've copied from that starter blog application. So let me just showcase a quick scenario when you're adding a new blog post. So I'm just gonna duplicate this particular row, and let's rename this to something, welcome to blog page starter 2. And temporarily, I'm going to assign the tier here. And notice the row tier, and this is basically a scenario for a very easy way to essentially control whether you want to get a paid access or if you want to provide this particular post to your end user for free. And once again, not to be confused, this is not part of the Subtopia, right? I'm showcasing an example blog application into which we've integrated Subtopia, basically. So this is just how that particular demo worked. So if we go back, you just noticed I've added the second page. If we go back to the hosted app, it should essentially pull the information from the very latest state that we've just updated. And yeah, okay, so let me just go from the beginning. So what you can notice in terms of the changes that you can currently see is it's almost the same UI. All I've changed is I've added a notion of a wallet. So you can authenticate on the blog post. And if a blog post is basically free, you will see that it's free. And if it's paid, you will see a little label that says paid. Clicking on that will essentially either give you access or it won't give you access, depending on whether your wallet is subscribed or not. So let's authenticate with a different wallet that we can assume as a user who is, for example, reading your personal blog post. All right, so, and yeah, I think for this particular demo, I've already had like a test that I performed just right before it, so that's why it displayed that I've already had a subscription. But let me open up the code base, basically, which you will be able to access soon after the call ends, and we will basically have some additional improvements there, so you can fork it and you can replicate the whole application that you're seeing here. But the main thing is that you need to essentially establish is that you need to instantiate the client, and this is the product ID that you can put into a blockchain explorer on Algorand, and you can see the information of the app that you've just deployed on chain. And in case of what we've just deployed, basically, if we go to the testnet, this is our application ID, and you saw that this application ID is actually pre-filled for you by the embed widget here. So if we are to change this particular product ID, this is all you need to do in case of, obviously this is already pre-integrated code, but the only thing that you need to worry about is the instantiation of the client. And we do have a fairly good integration with Use Wallet as well. So if you use Wallet from TXN Lab, the integration with the signer that you're passing in order to perform the signing of the transactions that will then essentially interact with the Subtopia contract that you've just deployed are extremely easy, essentially, and there's a lot of information and details available in the documentation. For the sake of time on the demo, I'm just trying to tap on certain scenarios in this case. So all I did here is basically just update it to a different product that I've had deployed just now, and it can actually rerun this locally as well, because it might be a bit faster to showcase it that way. Otherwise, we would need to do a redeployment. Yeah, just give it a few seconds. I'm basically rerunning it locally to showcase the integration option. So as you can see, that second page we've added here just popped up here. Basically, this is again coming from Notion that you can edit very easily. It has an integrated Markdown manager. You can pretty much have a pretty sophisticated blog post written without writing any code directly on Notion, and it just automatically syncs up with your blog post, right? But notice that one of the tiers is paid, the other one is free. So the paid tier by default in the modified application that we have here will ask you to essentially purchase the subscription, and the free, anyone can access it for free. You don't need to actually purchase anything. So once again, I'm logging in with a different wallet now, I'm really sorry for the hiccup here. I have like 60 something wallets here, and probably should have named them prior to the demo. Okay, so let's see. We've just logged in. As you can see, it says we are not subscribed. And if we try to open a free blog post, it's going to essentially sorry, it's a bit slow on the screen sharing. Okay, so as you can see, yeah, a paid blog post is basically asking you to subscribe. Click on the subscribe. And that is now using the Subtopia JS SDK to issue a call to perform the subscription to this particular product. And in this case, we could say this product is a blog application or like blog post that someone forked and hosted. And he wants to get paid for access to certain pages or certain posts he has. So I'm going to sign the transaction now. And as you can see, this subscription just went through successfully. For the sake of the demo, also let me open up AppFlow to showcase the transaction itself. Obviously, you can use any other explorer like Allo. I'm just not sure if Allo has testnet available yet. And yeah, as you can see, this is the transaction that was just executed, and it essentially creates the asset for you. And the asset is, that's where the unit name comes in, right? This is all customizable, basically.
So I have a question. I know I missed some of it, and I'm sorry, my son, like I say, he's down with something cold. I don't know what it is, so I had to go in there and get him back to sleep. But from what I've watched you set up here, from our perspective, right, the next block, we're going to be creating a website, obviously looking to do a lot of more blog written content. So we would be able to integrate Subtopia on our website if we wanted to create a version of our blogs that was either free and you could subscribe to them, get notifications, or even if it was, we wanted to have a paywall and people would be able to support the channel's growth through that by and using their their algo and paying an algo or coop or any other crypto.
Pretty much, yep.
That's awesome. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
so-
And also I'll say this, because I know, especially even like thinking about a lot of the businesses, right, that are in the space. And a lot of times the reason why they end up going broke is because they don't have any way to actually make money off of the stuff they create, especially if you're a content creator. So if there's anybody who's watching this who, is looking to create, a revenue stream, and you do, you're someone who's out here creating blog post or any type of thing like that, subscription base that would need that layer. I mean, that's huge. And for us, I could see us definitely using this as we get our website going, because that's something we want to be able to do. We want to, we want to be able to offer people more information, but in a different format. That's not a, hour live stream that they got to watch all the way through, a 5-10 minute read on, the crypto markets and what's going on, but being able to have, our followers subscribe to it to support the channel's growth. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so thank you for this demo, and yeah, because it get me excited too. Crypto for Change. I'm like, okay, so people out there, like, we don't have to use Patreon. We don't have to go do other platforms. You can
it's basically a free Patreon. Like, and I apologize about a few things in the demo. Like, as I said, this was a quick example of basically taking an existing app and just integrating Subtopia on top of it. So after the show is ended, you can expect that this is going to be published. I'll share the information on the Twitter as well, and you will be able to go ahead and fork it. And yeah, it's pretty much you'll be able to run it for free. Obviously, you'll need to pay for the creation of the contract, but the whole infrastructure is self-sustainable.
Now I do have one question, and this is just also again for our show's case, because I remember we actually said, we had a call with John Woods, and we were talking to him about some ideas, because here's the thing with with our YouTube channel and actually being profitable. Obviously, we have sponsors and we reach out to them, but I know there's a lot of people in the ecosystem and in the community who watch our show each week who would want to support us, but there's not really an easy way unless they just every week or whenever they want to send us a tip or anything like that. Is there a way to actually just make the subscription using Subtopia, that we could actually create a subscription where they're subscribing to the content that we already create on YouTube and through our live stream, streaming to Twitter and YouTube, or so it's not like maybe there's a different one for written content, but is there a way to just set one up and to have a subscription there for people if they just want to support our show on a monthly basis? Is that, do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, it seems like that's just a paywall that we could just, or set up a page where they can just pretty much subscribe to it.
Yeah, like because our website will have a page where if people want to donate, if they want to help support the show, and that's what I'm thinking. Like if it's not for written content, but just a reoccurring, like, hey, I want to support the growth of this project, I want to subscribe to it. Does that make sense with what Subtopia is doing?
I would say that the initial target audience was a bit more developer oriented and developer focused, and you probably can see it based on the demo. But definitely this is what I was basically exploring with showcasing this simple like blog post example. But yeah, like I will share the information in this Discord as well. Feel free to join Subtopia channel. Like if you can just recap particular scenarios for the integration, we can definitely consider some additional options on how you can add it. I would probably say that it all depends on where you want to host it, right?
Yeah.
And what is the medium that you want to present to the users? Like, is it video content, music, text? If you have your own platform that you manage, or if you have your own web app, essentially, you can easily embed it into it and monetize it from there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we'll be able to take a look at further once our website's live. Because like I said, we're obviously going to be live stream, having our videos and stuff on the website, but we're also going to be looking to branch out and add more written content, and even who knows what other kind of type of content we want to have on there. And having that subscription model available could obviously be a great way to reward, either if we're the ones doing the creating of the written content, or even if we're doing bounties and having other people create written content for our website to help grow our brand.
Yeah, this comment right here, you can also do unlisted videos on YouTube and serve the link behind the Subtopia paywall.
That's
a
actually a
great
good idea too.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Algo.
exactly.
Really,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. And then I want to get to this question with Rich Flair. I can explain it. Day by Day is an insurance platform, and Subtopia is subscription management. So that's the two differences there. So we can put some insurance on our subscriptions, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, because this got me thinking too. Like, so artists, right? You got, if you're doing a music and you're on Algorand, because I like having dropping some music here and there. If you want to, like, I'm thinking about some of the singers we've seen. If you got your website up, you can put a subscription paywall. So when you drop your new album and all of that, the Algo fam can just tap in. There's a lot of ideas that's popping up. And I do think this is a very useful tool for bigger businesses, all the way down to individual content creators like ourselves, and in growing podcasts like The Next Block. But yeah, this is dope. People are liking this right here. Al is goated dev. I agree. Thank you for this. This is something I really wanted. Like, I think I told you this before, but in 2021, when I was, selling courses and all that, and I was trying to figure out, I was like, man, people want to pay, but it wasn't ready. And now we're here. So this is great. You know what I mean?
If I just,
okay, thank
if
you.
I may just add like one quick comment, basically, the thing I mentioned about the feature that is currently being developed on testnet, basically, there's a new contract type that we're going to be adding. So what you saw is a paywall access, right? But we're going to be adding a pay-as-you-go subscription model. So this is a lot more flexible, and I would say it's a lot more in tune with cases where, for example, if you're familiar with like AI platforms where you need to pay a credit to generate an image or something like that with Stable Diffusion, that's a different subscription type, right? So Subtopia didn't offer that, and we had a few interesting feature requests, and pretty much, yeah, there's going to be a separate type, which I would say will allow you to, have even more flexible options for how you can split your app into a bunch of features, and then you can decide which of those you would like, pay-as-you-go access.
One thing I do have
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one thing I do have a question about, just from a trying to understand the workings of it. When someone connects their wallet, right, to say we had a subscription platform on our website, and they were subscribing, say, 25 algo a month to get all the written content that we were going to be producing, does the smart contract give, are you escrowing, like once you sign up, are you just putting that 25 algo immediately in the smart contract, and then it just goes, gets paid out on a certain date, like maybe that's specified? Or does the smart contract actually have the ability just to pull from your wallet each month that amount? Does that make sense?
You can also read in detail in regards to the current, I would say, limitations of the platform. So we don't have the ability to perform like automatic deposits in the current state, but we do have the contracts, which I mentioned, the lockers, which we will essentially be utilizing later on. But it wasn't something that we wanted to focus on the initial iterations, because it was a lot more important to polish out the main flow, basically. But yes, in theory, so anytime someone subscribe, so you can create as many product contracts as you want. But as I said, there is a single locker contract that is essentially linked with all products that you deploy. So if someone purchases a subscription through any of the products that you own, that money is going to flow into the locker. So you have a central escrow, basically, that is also an updatable stateful contract. It's not a logic sig. And pretty much from the Subtopia dashboard, you're able to withdraw, as soon as there is more than 0.01 algo on it, or more than like 0 ASAs, if it's a custom ASA you're accepting the payments in, you'll be able to currently just go on the dashboard and withdraw the revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because you mean for the client, right? So if I'm subscribing to someone, and if it costs 25 algo for this next several months, do the whole 25 algo go to that escrow account, or does it come out monthly?
So the 25 algo is basically withdrawn atomically as soon as you purchase it.
Yeah.
The subscription becomes activated, and the product contract that you deploy as a creator means the subscription pass to your user. As soon as it is essentially expires, the minted token stays on chain, but the contract now, based on the metadata, starts saying that he's no longer active, basically. So user can then decide whether he wants to renew or not. But automatic renewals is also something that is easily achieved with the lockers, but in the current iteration, as I said, the front end doesn't fully support automatic renewals just yet. So
this is great. Yeah,
this is actually a bit more user centric. Like I personally find myself quite often dealing with going to like App Store or Google Play and like making sure that I don't have something that I forgot to unsubscribe to.
Right.
So as a user, I'd say you might actually appreciate it more, the fact that you don't need to worry about someone, especially within a blockchain context. There was a reason why I tried to avoid Logic 6 and delegated Logic 6 to deal with like auto renewals in the initial iteration.
I was having problems with Disney, man. I was trying to cancel Disney and I couldn't figure out. I was on my phone, on the computer.
They make
it was
it hard
like
to
hiding the
find.
cancel. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have to get a new debit card. So
Although,
I think that makes sense.
Look at that new Call of Duty season pass powered by Subtopia. I mean, that's the thing. It's true, and it's going to be happening because so many things are going to be on the blockchain. They're going to be looking for these different avenues on how to keep people how to keep people subscribing and how to manage it, because that's a huge thing. Because like you said, it's so hard to cancel some things and just adjust and move around. Like honestly, I had a good thing happen to me. I thought I had some fraud on my debit card, so I had to cancel it. That's the perfect way to get rid of unneeded subscriptions. Is you have to get a new debit card, because then everything else, then you only go and like update the things that actually matter, and everything that don't, they're not getting your money no more.
I have to do that once a year, man. It'd be a problem. Yeah, because I'm thinking too, like so this is a type of product that I envision that can help really scale out Algorand, because we always talk about a real use case. Subscriptions are a real use case. So the educators, the video game people, the content creators, bigger businesses all can integrate this, and then we can easily, because I do feel like you say with the debit card, I feel more comfortable loading up my payment algo wallet and then let me touch every website and do what I need to do, because I can manage that better than a bank account that goes directly to all my access to my money. So I definitely like this. And then, thinking of communities, right? You said KubeCoin earlier. If you want to, do his Devin or whatever, you could pay in Coop. You can pay in whatever token that people are opted into. So the big boy community, you want to do something special with big boy, boom, throw that in there. Gora, I think that's a great idea. This is a smart idea. So yeah, big shout out to you over there building, and everybody looking like they liking it. Let's go. Shout out to Ryan. Cloudy Vibes, what's good? Yeah, so so you said new iterations are coming. So how often do you update this platform and the what's going on there? And again, people can join the Discord and give suggestions, right?
Absolutely, and actually, that's potentially the most useful and efficient way. Basically, if you are a potential developer or an owner of a platform interested in integrating Subtopia, joining Discord and just reaching out for help with integration is the best option. There is a lot of things we are also keeping track of based on reasonable feature requests. But yeah, as I said, the existing target sort of audience for Subtopia users is primarily, I would say, developers on Algorand who already have their own products. But once again, the number of things you could do with these contracts is very flexible. So it's just that as soon as we get an interesting feature request, or like you've just outlined, with possibly approaching it from a perspective of like monetizing access to YouTube videos, or having something like I've just displayed with turning your blog post into a monetized blog post, there's a lot of scenarios that we can cover basically. So feel free to reach out on Discord, and I'll make sure to share the links as well.
Excellent. So yeah, that's great. Big shout out to you and the team over there at MakerX. As we close out, pass it to Crypto for Change, and then make sure y'all tune in to the next announcements we have.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining the show. Obviously, everybody be on the lookout for our tweet dropping here in the next couple days on the Lofty giveaway and working with them to, on tokenized real estate. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure you got the notification bell turned on to our socials. We'll be sending out a tweet soon. And then also be sure to be tuning in throughout the month of March, guys. We have some big guests. I know we have pushed back Sean Ford a couple times, but I do feel, I know we should be getting him locked down in March. I know a lot of people were excited about that when we got Mark Yusko coming back on. And hopefully around my birthday, near the middle end of March, we should be having Silvio. We are still in talks with his assistant trying to get that one lined up. Now that one probably will not, actually, I wouldn't even say probably. It's definitely not going to be a live show, just not the way Silvio wants to roll. So it would be a pre-recorded show, but if there's any questions that you would have that you would like to ask Silvio from the community, be sure to drop those. Hit us on Twitter, send us a DM or email, because we're compiling that list and we will, we'll be asking some community questions. So that one should be an exciting drop in March. So make sure you got all the notifications turned on. And until next week, guys, we will see you later.
Peace, y'all. And thanks again, Subtopia.
Thanks for having me.